We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next edition of Cage My IQ. I am your host, D-Bake, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Miles Long and Samuel Moore. How are you guys doing today?
Hey. Killing it.
Doing great.
Yep. As always, you can find us live on Twitter at Cage IQ, on Facebook at Cage My IQ SB, and on Instagram at Cage My IQ. And now, today, you can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/CageMyIQ. We're actually on Twitch right now as we speak. So if you're into Twitch, definitely check us out on there and subscribe to us there, along with subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitter. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a recap of UFC 259, Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz, which was for the light heavyweight championship. As also, there were two other title fights between Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, and then Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. How did you guys like the card this Saturday?
I thought it was a pretty strong card.
Yeah. Same.
Pretty entertaining.
Yeah, what I loved most about it was the fact that the prelims were better than the main card itself. If
there were some pretty solid fights. Yeah.
If anybody knows, there were two performance of the night bonuses and then one fight of the night bonus. All of them were on the prelims, which is unheard of now. Usually there's at least all of them on the main card or most of them. But all of these were on the prelims, so that shows you how stacked this card was.
True that.
And Dominic Cruz got another win, man. He's still not out of it yet.
Yep,
he's still
knocking around
in there
with
those young pups. Yeah.
Yep. Too bad he's too busy challenging Monster Energy people now.
Unreal. They were hot that he did that in the ear. They cut him off. That was crazy.
Yeah, it was actually. They were saying Joe Rogan was the one that cut him off.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
But before we get into the breakdown and recap of 259, just want to let everybody know we're partnered with the Sports Box. You can find them and follow them at hashtag SportsBox on Facebook, at SportsBox Show. You can find them on Twitter at SportsBox Show, and then Instagram at The Sports Box Show. And then subscribe to YouTube, and then bring any of your questions and comments to any of those platforms. We're lucky to be on the Sports Box network. We have over 20 podcasts now, and then we're the second of two, as you know, two MMA shows. We did the show on Thursday with Fighting Words, which was great.
It was good, yeah.
And technically did win a meatball sandwich, but I think it's too tainted to take it, so I told him to keep it. But everything's fun at the Sports Box. Check everybody out. The schedule is right on the Facebook page, and then just have a blast with all the different formats. But we're getting started with the first fight that we have on the main card, which was a light heavyweight matchup between Alexander Rakic, who defeated Thiago Santos by unanimous decision. I'll start with you, Miles.
I mean, yeah, this one went pretty much the way I thought it was going to go. like Santos, he's a power striker, but he's not very technical. Whereas Rakic, he's a very technical kickboxer. And so he just kind of stayed on the outside, took him apart, just racked up the points across the card. stayed out of like real big trouble spots. I think he did pretty decent wrestling defense considering, Thiago Santos's grappling background in general. If this had gone to the ground, he might have been in some trouble. But no, he did a good job. He just managed it, and he earned his way up to what spot is he now? Number 4, number 2, something like that. Where was Santos at before? He got yeeted out of his spot. I do remember that. Santos was 2, so he's probably in the top 5. Oh no, he was right there at 4 already. So he's definitely at 2 spot by now. So yeah, I think he did a good job and he earned it. So good for him.
Yeah, Santos is at 2, and then Rakic is at 4.
Yep.
And then I just saw it. They moved Ankalev to 7.
Yeah, he moved up quite a bit.
Yeah, but what about you, Sam?
I was a little disappointed. You see these 2 big guys. They're power punchers. They're animals, and I think they just kind of canceled each other out. Nobody wanted to get knocked out by the other, and Rakic, I always have a problem with that one. Rakic fought a technical fight, and he won. But like I said, I think everybody was kind of thinking this was going to be fireworks, and it was just kind of a technical 3-round fight. I thought Rakic did do enough to win it. But a good fight, and I'd like to see where he lines up. The light heavyweight division is slowly starting to build back up again since John Jones has left. You're starting to get more names in there. Everybody's heading towards the top. So it was a good fight. I don't think that Santos is quite ready yet as far as his legs go. You could tell he was kind of lenient. He didn't have the movement that he did in the Jones fight, and he had busted up legs in the Jones fight. He moved more in that fight than he did in this one. But overall, entertaining fight.
Yeah, I felt like this fight kind of could have gone either way, because I felt like what kept Santos in it for me, like I thought this was like 50-50, but what kept him in it was how passive Rakic was being throughout the whole fight. He did a lot of the kicks like in the picture you see before, but he kind of stayed back, hit him, stayed back, hit him. Like he didn't do too much. Like they both were afraid of the big shot. And then I kind of figured that Santos would be, because he's still kind of, in my opinion, recovering from that torn ACL that he's had. Like that usually takes over a year to heal. And then for the fighter, for anybody athlete-wise, to feel comfortable with it. And I think he's coming up on the 1-year mark now. But you can definitely tell the difference in how he fights since then. Like he doesn't feel confident moving on it. He moves a little bit slower. He's a little bit more safe. And then he doesn't have that explosion anymore. I expected Rakic to take advantage of it, but knowing Santos with that punch, like for some reason he just felt like he had to be protective of himself, because he felt like one shot could have knocked him out, I guess. But he should have just went after Santos. He would have had his way with how easy it was for him to pick him apart at times. He allowed Santos to stay in this fight, and then he did pick up the victory in the end. But I felt down after this. I thought like he probably should have won by like a knockout or something, or a domination, but it wasn't. Like it was like he barely won, because there wasn't anything exciting in this fight. It was just hit here, hit there, and then they both were passive, and then they let the time go by, and then Rakic won by decision. And he's, as we just said, he's ranked number 4 now. And Santos is 2. I think something would change with that. I don't know why they wouldn't flip-flop or something like that. But we do have a matchup that has something to do with the rankings in a few weeks with the 3 and the 5. We got Reyes going up against Yuri Prochazka. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes, because if Reyes were to lose, I could see a situation where you had Prochazka go up against Rakic, because you got Teixeira going up against Blachowicz next, and then that would leave the 2 or 3 ranked spot up for grabs. But then if Reyes wins, you could have a Reyes Rakic. So I think Rakic is going to wait to see who wins that fight in a few weeks, and then he'll likely get the winner of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Prohaska's a dangerous fighter too. That's not going to be an easy fight for Reyes, and it's going to be a tough one actually. Him coming off the loss, we'll see how that one plays out. But I don't know. I'm going to have to lean towards Prohaska on that one. He's dangerous.
It depends what Reyes we see. Like we saw Reyes at his highest with how he did against John Jones. He was strong in the first 3 rounds. He did tire down. I personally thought he won it, but that one judge who had to be high out of his mind giving John Jones 4 rounds to 1 when clearly everybody knew that Reyes at least won the first 2 rounds. I would have been fine if he lost 3-2, but to have him lose 4-1, that judge was crazy. But for him to do that and then to come in against Jan Hovic and just shit the bed, like he wasn't there. Like that,
No.
I have to see how he does in this fight. If he comes back strong, then I'll be like, okay, maybe that was just a bad fight. Like he just didn't train well. If he loses, then it's like maybe he just fought the perfect fight against Jones. Who knows? But to move on to the second fight, which was not really a fight, we have Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober in a lightweight matchup where Islam Makhachev dominated Dober and won by a 3rd round submission. I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, poor Drew Dober. He's a good fighter. He really is. I think this just showed just how dominant Makhachev is on the ground and in the grappling. It was 3 rounds of just complete and utter domination. Dober never had a chance to get started. And I got to say, man, Makhachev, he's making a pretty big name. Nobody wants to fight this guy for that reason. He's just that dominant on the ground with the takedowns, with the top control. And Drew Dober was just another victim. I hate it for Dober because, like I said, he's a powerhouse, but his wrestling does lack, and it showed in this fight. Makhachev is moving up quick, man, and I think he's going to make waves in this division.
What about you, Miles?
I mean, yeah, this was pretty one-sided, but I think part of that was the correct game plan, because I think if Makhachev had tried to stand and trade with Dober, we might have seen a different outcome. But he even said, like in the post interview, he's like, "Yeah, no, I could have tried to stand and trade punches with him, but instead I decided to do the easy thing." And then he just put on a clinic for grappling. It really didn't matter how Drew Dober defended. He was going to the ground. What was interesting is, like, I think it was in the second round, Makhachev took him down with, I think it was like an inside leg sweep, and then he tried it again in a later round, but Dober defended, but he's like, all right, cool, that's fine, we're just going to do this other takedown. So it got to the point where it was like, all right, so it doesn't even matter what kind of defense Drew Dober has, because Makhachev has all these tools to get around his defenses. He's outclassed when it comes to his grappling. And I mean, he played the right game. It wasn't super exciting for those who were not really into grappling and understood the technical side of what was going on. It probably looked fairly mundane, but that's the fight he should have done, because relatively speaking, Drew Dober, I think, probably could have outpunched him, and he has the power advantage between the two of them. So yeah, he played this smart. I think he just got kind of excited there in that fourth round and decided to go for the submission, and he nailed it. So, which was interesting because he already failed that, or no, it was the third round submission, right? Because I think it was like in the second round he failed that armbar.
Yeah,
that was still pretty close. Yeah, that was really close though. His hips were a little out of position. That was the only thing that was wrong with that. But that was crazy. But even then, I think Drew Dober also put on a pretty decent show. Having to deal with somebody who's so much better at grappling than he is. He hung in there for a while. Like, he put up a decent ground defense, especially with that armbar defense. Everybody thought it was over, but he found a way out. So I think this was good for both of them. It's just, Makhachev was just head and shoulders the better grappler here, and that's why he won.
Yeah, you could tell the big difference in how they were. Like, I did like how Dober, when he got into the armbar, that he was able to basically turn over, and that's how he got out of it. He kind of turned over while Makovich was putting the arm down. He was able to turn over, then he was able to get on top of Makovich. But I felt like he was scared half the time. There was a point in the second round where he was defending the takedown, and then he went into guard standing up.
Mhm.
And then DC's like, why are you going in guard standing up? Like, he's either going to take you down or he's not going to take you down. If you go into guard, you're allowing him to do it. You're allowing him to do it. Like, I would have liked to see him try to push off and then get to a point where he could get standing up and then try and go into strike mode and then come after Makovich. But I felt like he was playing scared. And then this is the perfect example, like we said Thursday, with the Sambo wrestlers using the momentum against their opponent. Like, he kept on coming after Dober, and then he would just use that leg sweep to while he was walking back to get him down on the ground. And then he just laid down on him like a grizzly bear. Like, once he had him on his ground, I knew it was over, because he wasn't going to get up. Every time he tried to get up, Makovich was able to move into side guard or into a different position to keep him down. And it was basically just like, it was a hugging session. That's what I called it, a hugging session. And then in the third round, Makovich, it wasn't really a submission. He was just pressing against him. And then I guess
that one actually, it was a submission. It's a very difficult submission to land, but what it is, it's a shoulder press. So what he did is he was setting up an arm triangle, but sometimes you can't quite squeeze tight enough to get the arm triangle pressure on evenly on both sides of the neck. So what he did is he tripoded up and put his shoulder right up against his neck and just dropped all his weight straight in until he taps. Sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's actually you feel yourself going out, but that's a hard submission to do. Like, that's
I
most
wonder
of the time that doesn't work.
I wonder if, because he was being laid on for most of the fight, that he was too tired to even try and fight it, and then that helped out Makovich.
Yeah, I mean, having been in that position, even if you're tired, you're like, all right, I can rest. Like, if it's not working, you're like, all right, I'm going to take a second to catch my breath, stay in the fight. And you try to problem solve after the fact. But if anything, if it's not working, it's a break. So I don't think he would have tapped because he was like not choking him out. I think it had to be working to get that tap.
Yeah, because he tapped right away. It was like, he was in it no more than 5 seconds, and then he tapped.
Mm-hmm.
So which was great. I'm not sure who Makovich is going to get next. As we were saying, maybe he gets a guy in the top 10.
Yeah.
But right now he's ranked 14. And unless they didn't update the rankings yet, I don't think he would move up too much, because Dober wasn't even in the top 15.
Yeah.
Dober was fighting, was going, Islam was ranked higher than Dober was to begin with.
I read a rumor online, maybe RDA.
Yeah, but RDA is ranked number 7.
Yeah, that's way up there. I was going to say Paul Fiedler. Maybe he's better.
Yeah, that would be possible.
Yeah, he's up there too.
Because he's
only at 10 right now, so that would give him a shot into the top 10 spots, and then he could, keep climbing from there.
Yeah, Diego Ferreira just far. Alaquinta has been kind of like dormant. Gregor Gillespie at 15 is fighting this week or next week. He's fighting next week. Kevin Lee's still recovering from the double injury to his legs, I believe it is. So I could see it being Paul Felder or Benir Dariush, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'd be a good place to start.
Which would, with the win there, would put him in the top 10. And then that's where you have like the endless amount of matchups for him every way possible.
Yeah, no, he'd mix well, I think, within like the top 8 and above. I'd be interested to see how he does against like a Dan Hooker or like even like a Tony Ferguson, who's kind of on the decline, but let's see how he does against Makhachev.
The fight that would be great on paper would be Makhachev against Charles Oliveira.
Cool. Yeah,
because Oliveira
imagine that ground game.
I was going to say he would welcome being on his back
Mhm.
because he like there was one point in this fight where Dober had him like he had his hand and he could have put him in the Kimura, but he just didn't have enough to put like pull his hand up. I think if that was Oliveira would be better off getting him in that Kimura because he's used to the ground game, whereas Dober's used to being standing up, striking.
Mhm.
So because
I think that would be a fun
that was
fight,
the one
though.
hole.
Mhm.
What was that?
That would be a fun fight, though. Oliveira and Makachev, just to see
Yeah,
how that
I
played
mean,
out.
That'd be a real test for Makachev in terms of like his grappling ability. Because I mean, whenever he's outclassed in striking, that's where he goes. But the question is, what happens when he's outclassed in grappling? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be a good.
Like
It'd
he
be a
was,
good. What if?
like you just said, he was dominating this fight, but there was that one small hole that Dober had, but because Dober's not well advanced in the grappling, he wasn't able to get it. Whereas maybe somebody who's great at grappling would have been able to lock in that Kimura because he wasn't able to push up.
Well, he couldn't get the arm out. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The defense Makachev was using is actually pretty effective because what you do is you bury your arm like inside of your thigh, and if you can, you grab material. Sometimes it's not always possible, but just having it down that low, even if the guy's like really freaking strong, they'll pull on that arm for 10 minutes and it's not going to budge. So I mean, I don't know if necessarily more skill would have helped there, but what Oliveira would have done is he would have known like, all right, this Kimura is not going to happen, and he would have gone to something different. He wouldn't have burned the energy, fighting for this lost cause. And that I think is something that would keep Makachev on his feet, is having to constantly problem solve and control the guy and stay on top. So that would be the better test there.
Yeah. But to transition from this to the first title fight on the card and the most controversial of the night, we had the bantamweight title matchup between Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, which saw Aljamain Sterling win by intentional foul. Yes, that's right, intentional foul.
Intentional foul. I don't know if I agree with that wording.
Yes. I'll start with you, Miles.
So this was actually a pretty exciting fight up until that happened. Like we had Aljamain Sterling coming out real strong in the first couple of rounds. He was being pretty quick. He was getting those shots in. I think he was even leading in significant strikes for like first 2 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
He won the first 3, and then Jan had the 4th round halfway through by like 4 strikes.
Right. Okay. Because I mean, he was gaining momentum, at least in significant strikes. But the problem was he was just eating shit when it came to grappling. Like the grappling stuff was not going in his favor at all. And that's completely the opposite of what everybody thought about this fight. Like everybody thought, oh, if it goes to the cage, if it goes to the ground, it's all Sterling. But no. Like Jan was making a statement. He was like, "Okay, you wanna grapple? That's fine. I'll ragdoll your ass all over the ring. I don't care." And he was getting a lot of takedowns, way more than I think anybody was expecting out of a primarily striking guy. So he was doing really, really well. Even if Aljamain was ahead in significant strikes, it was kind of hard to call those rounds just because he was just eating shit so much in the grappling aspect of things. So the thing was, Aljamain was getting tired, right? Going into the 3rd round, he was gassing out a little. And if this had gone to 5 rounds, I think what we would have seen was Jan would just keep gaining momentum as the fight went on. You know what I mean? Because he was doing fine. He was relaxing those first 2 rounds. He wasn't really too active. He was mostly defensive. But as we progressed through the fight, he got more and more active. He got more aggressive. He was looking for those shots, and he was looking to capitalize on, okay, where can I, really injure him? And then he got some shit advice from the corner about kneeing to the head. And for a second, I was like, wait, how? Like, what about it was a foul? Was it because they got him in the eye? Like, it took me a second to figure out why they called foul on that one. But he probably should have just swung to the body instead. I mean, especially it was like what, 20 seconds left in the round. Like, just kind of stay on top of him, keep him in his little turtle guard, and just wail on him a little for the last 20 seconds, and next round come out swinging. So it sucks that, that's kind of how that fight ended. I think there's definitely going to be a rematch. No question. I think they're going to want to run this fight again and see who the winner would be without a DQ. And I think if they run it again, we'll see probably Jan winning it, especially if he puts on the same kind of grappling performance in conjunction with the striking that we saw, last night or Saturday. So I'm interested to see how this goes, because Aljamain is pissed. He did not like the fact that he got the belt by DQ. Even when when Dana White gave it to him, he was like crying. He dropped it. He's like, "Get that shit off of me.
No, he actually,
I don't want it."
He took it off and he threw it down.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he did not. He was not happy. So
No.
I think he's just as hungry as Jan for a rematch. So I think that rematch is going to be dope.
Yeah. What about you, Sam?
Like Miles was saying, this was by far the most entertaining fight to date on the card. I thought a couple takeaways. Jan's wrestling defense was really good. Aljamain was trying his hardest for the takedown, and Jan seemed to block that with ease. Number two, his wrestling and takedowns, a lot of people weren't expecting that. He had a couple trips that were just beautiful. I noticed that Aljamain in the beginning, you could tell he was kind of, the adrenaline was pumping. He was kind of going a little too fast. But technically, if you're looking at strikes and activity, some could say that he was winning this fight up till. As far as the disqualification, I don't think it matters what your corner says, what anybody tells you to do. You're a champion in the biggest MMA organization in the world. You should know the rules. So as far as the disqualification, hey, he earned that. He did lose his title because of it. I do think they'll rematch, and I think that's Jan's. Jan's going to come back furious from this loss, and I think he'll probably make an example at Aljamain. A lot can be taken from both sides, just as as far as getting better and a better game plan for the next fight. But Jan, I just think this guy is so good. His striking is awesome. The only thing I don't like is that high guard he throws. He puts his guard up really high that leaves his body exposed, and nobody ever seems to take advantage of that. But it was a good fight up until the knee. But one thing I'd like to comment on about that is the referee. I don't know what this referee's problem was. If this wasn't a title fight, that fight would have been stopped immediately. You can't leave a fighter to his own, to make his own decision. Of course, he's going to want to fight. But had he let that continue, Aljamain Sterling could have really been injured, and, it wouldn't have went his way. So for this referee to take as long as he did, this fight should have been stopped within a minute of seeing the guy get blasted in the face with a knee. I think they got to do something about these referees. I've been seeing more and more issues with them. Waiting too late to get in to stop the fight, or letting the guy take too many punches after it's over. These referees need to be held accountable for, that's your job. It's not the fighter's job to say, hey, I can still keep going with, my face caved in from a knee. I think the referees really need to be looked at, and, maybe give them some crash courses again, maybe freshen up on the books. I don't know, but it was a good fight.
I wonder how much pressure they're getting from Dana White to just let the fighters have it out, and only in the worst circumstances stop it. I wonder if that's what's going on, why we're seeing this happen so much, because this isn't just a handful of times. This seems to be a running theme.
Yeah, exactly. It's been going on. So other than that, it was a good fight. I had Jan winning. I think Aljamain was gassing at an incredibly fast rate. I think by the championship rounds, Jan was going to finish him off. But, hey, can't be kneeing people in the face.
I had no problem with what the ref was doing, because he was taking his time. He was making sure he was good. He didn't want to rush his decision. He was being thorough with him. He was asking him questions. It was are you good? Are you good? He wanted to bring the doctor in. He wanted the doctor to be he's not good. He wanted the doctor, because he's not a professional. He could put it off, but then if the doctor looked at him afterwards,
right? He was asking, "Are you good?" And he couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
He was just flopping
he tried
around.
to get up and fell over.
That's not even a question. Are you good? He's gonna be "Yeah, I'm good."
But
all right, you're not good.
But then I think that goes into what Miles said was Dana White. Maybe he was like, I got to check him. So then when Dana White tries to get mad, then I show him, hey, he
Right.
can't even get up. Like, I
Right.
got to be thorough with this guy. I'm being thorough with this guy just for Dana, so he knows that he's not good, because then he can't give me shit afterwards for how he is, because this guy can't even get up. He's telling me he's seeing like double a little bit. Like, I remember him asking me, he was like, can you see what I'm holding up? He was like, a little blurry. And then he was like,
Yeah.
we're done. And then like
Yeah.
knowing Sterling, he's not gonna want to give up, because then like he feels like he's shitting on himself, because he's getting the belt by DQ basically, because of intentional hit. And
First
then I'm
time
wondering,
that's happened
yeah,
in a
and then
championship fight too.
I saw it the first time. I'm like, geez, this is something out of like New Japan right here. There's a guy that does this in New Japan, and he just wears the guys like it's a finisher, and he knocks the guys out. And I'm like, what? And I see it first. I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And then I see it the second time. I was like, oh no, that was bad. Like I saw like the close up of it. And then you hear you hear everything else afterwards with the coaches. You hear the coach, you hear Jan look at him and go, "Yeah," and then you hear the one coach go, like say something, which meant like leg kick, and then you have the other one that said, the other coach that said punch, and of course he listened to the one that says kick, but instead of kick, he kneed him. Because I guess that's the only thing he could do, because he was holding Sterling's like hands down.
Well, he was holding the head, and Arjamain was holding his wrists, so his hands were already tied up, but his head was being, and that's why I think when it hit, that's what made it so like heavily concussed, is the fact that he pulled the head into the knee. That just made the damage so much worse. But I think
He still
to play
should have knew
devil's
better
advocate.
though.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, Jan doesn't speak English, and he's only been in the UFC for like maybe 5 fights, a handful. He's fairly new, so I don't think he's read the rule book. I don't think he really could even comprehend the rule book. And in Russia, the rules they play kind of fast and loose with that shit. They really don't give a fuck about the fighters. So I think that's why he was asking for like corner confirmation, because I think the corner guys were supposed to have like read the book and tell him in their native language, like, look, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And there is some sort of like gray areas in the rule books when you read through all the rules. Sometimes it's like, does this rule apply in this situation, or So I don't know. Maybe I think it has to do with the fact that English is second language. He probably has never read the rule book, so he was trying to make that judgment without really knowing the rules, firsthand, and he was trusting somebody else to do it. In which, I mean, that's not a great idea, obviously, but I mean, what are you going to do if all you speak is Russian?
You would have thought the coaches would have warned him the first time when he got the warning earlier,
right?
But apparently not. But I had this close. Like I looked at on the scorecard, and then 2 of the judges had it 29-28 going into the 4th round.
Wasn't Arjamain below? Like, wasn't he behind 1 point?
29-28 Jan, and then the third judge had it 29-28 Sterling going into the 4th round.
Split decision, sort of.
Yeah, and then the 4th round, I think there was only 2. I think there was 2 minutes left in the 4th round, because it was halfway through the 4th, and then Jan had a 30-26 significant strike lead at that point. So he was ahead by a little bit. And then, like you said, Sterling was gassed and Jan was looking more poised. But even gassed, Sterling still looked good. Like, he still was able to throw. He was still able to hit some significant strikes on Jan. I felt Jan was out of his game a little bit. Like, he wasn't attacking at the right times. There's times that he hit him perfectly, but he was being a little too patient. He should have went aggressive.
I think that was probably his game plan, because his coaches were probably telling him he's going to want to wrestle with you. So let him kind of burn himself out. Let him make some of these attempts, stuff them, have him burn his energy. Let him throw, because that's the thing. Every time Arjamain connects with his punches, they're not nearly as heavy as Jan's punches. So he's burning the same amount of energy, if not more, trying to, throw these big, heavy punches. And Jan just has to wait him out. And I think that's what we were saying, is he was gaining momentum, and he was getting the better end of those exchanges as the fight went on. So I think he was trying to conserve his energy and then, go into the 4th and 5th round real heavy. I think that was the plan.
What killed me was Jan left his body open basically the whole fight. The way he blocks
the head
it
guard.
goes like this. It goes like this, and
Yeah.
I'm like, Sterling, all you have to do is kick him in the side or hit him in the body, and then when he has to protect both, then you go for the head. Like he left it open the whole time, daring you to do it, and then you were too busy doing like the spinning back elbows and everything.
Right.
And then Sterling didn't mind. It seemed like he didn't mind giving his back up, and like he was trying to bait Jan, but Jan wasn't biting. So I feel like in like a rematch, maybe I'm hoping maybe Sterling watches the film and is like, maybe this time I need to attack the body because he's not protecting the body. And then I can still go on strong in the beginning, but maybe not that strong. Maybe dial it down like one notch to where I'm not being sloppy, because that's what it was. Like he had like a 67% strike efficiency, which was crazy, but he was sloppy at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to clean up some of that. And then I will say the biggest loser of this outcome is Sandhagen, because now he's going to have to fight TJ Dillashaw, looks, because he's not going to be waiting all this time. And now, like, it sucks for him. Like the worst possible outcome that could happen was this for him. Was where now they're going to have to do a rematch.
Yeah.
No matter what. So he's going to wait. Next in 3 weeks, Dillashaw will be done his suspension, and then I'm pretty sure they're going to announce Dillashaw against Sandhagen. And then another loser is Rob Font, because Rob Font is at the 4th spot, and he's been sitting for a while. So now he's going to have to take a fight behind him, maybe like a Pedro Munoz. He might have to.
He's actually at the 3 spot now. Like he must have moved up a little while, because the only people ahead of him before they changed the rankings were Sandhagen and Sterling.
Yeah, because they haven't moved up Munoz. They haven't announced it yet, but I'm pretty sure Garbrandt is going to fight Aldo, and then Moraes has lost 2 or 3 fights, so I doubt that. And then that's who Rob Font just beat last time, so I doubt he fights him again. So I'm looking at like a Rob Font Munoz fight in the future. But this division has a lot of talent in it, and then that's not even counting Cruz, who just won, who was at 11, and now he's going to move into the top 10, kicking out Jimmy Rivera, which is crazy. But to move on from this mess to your mess of a pick, Sam, where we had Amanda.
Did you have Megan Anderson? Did you have Megan Anderson on this shit?
I did, man.
I did too, but because of DraftKings, I did it for DraftKings purposes. But we had a featherweight title bout where Amanda Nunes defeated Megan Anderson by first round submission. I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, this one broke my heart. I really, really had Megan Anderson winning this thing. I'm a huge fan. I've been a huge fan of hers, and I really thought she would use the size, the length, and the strength. And honestly, aside from that, there's not much to say about this fight. She looked like she was just froze. If you look at her eyes walk into the octagon, when she was in the octagon during the fight, her eyes are wide open. She just looked starstruck. I don't know. She looked like she froze up, and, hats off to Amanda Nunes. That was an easy night out. She is the GOAT when it comes to the women, possibly in general. I mean, she's the only champion to continue to defend both belts at the same time. I think this could be the end of the featherweight division, is what I'm thinking, because they don't even have rankings. They just don't even have enough fighters. It's I hope Megan bounces back, but she just she had a big opportunity, and what appears if she just choked, man.
What about you, Miles?
I mean, This was a blowout. Like, Jesus. She literally just got in there and got choked out in like, what was it, 2 minutes and 3 seconds? Like, this wasn't even a fight. Like, man, and that's kind of weird because their whole when she was talking about this fight, she was like, "Oh, some people, fight the legend and not the person." And so it seemed like she was going in with this attitude, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna try to fight Amanda Nunes, the two belt champ, or I'm gonna try to fight Amanda Nunes, the lady who shows up to get in the cage with me tonight." But she was just completely outclassed. I feel like she wasn't even. I don't know. Maybe you're right. She was starstruck. Something was going on because she didn't even really put up a fight. Like they traded some blows. She ate some punches, and then they went into like a wrestling scramble. And then Amanda Nunes just bowled her over and just worked her over until she got that triangle and was working on the armbar. That was it. And she tapped really fast too. Like the triangle looked like it was semi in, but the thing is the side of her neck was open, so like it wasn't like a choke. That's why she was going for the arm, thinking, all right, well, I'll get an arm bar. She turned the arm over and she was like, all right, well, I guess this is gonna have to turn into a shoulder lock. And as she just barely started to go, that tap came really fast. So I think she just wanted out of that fight. But I mean, yeah, she was just completely outclassed here. And I saw that coming. I had a clean sweep for Nunes, no matter what the outcome. Nunes was going to win that one. Like, I wasn't worried at all. But damn, man, that was just like, it was almost like we were at like MMA class and the teacher was just demonstrating a technique for everybody. It was just like, all right, everybody, you guys see that? All right, go practice. It was that one-sided.
It was that bad, and yeah, like she came in, like Nunez bull rushed her right away, and she just had that look of like being, like you said, starstruck and scared, and she didn't know what to do, froze, and then Nunez just went at her, and then instead of knocking her out, I guess Nunez was just like, you know what? I'm gonna submit her tonight. I'm not gonna knock this one out. I'm gonna go for the submission. And that's
she
what
could pick and choose whatever she wanted to do. She had it.
She was bored, I guess. Took her down, got the submission on, had her tap, in and out 2 minutes. Got to hold her newborn, and then she was like,
"Yeah, I saw that."
And then that was crazy though. They talked to her about that, and she was like, "You thought I was dangerous now." Just wait till the next time, because now I'm a mother. Like I'm a mother protecting my child. So, because she's the lioness, and then that was her cub, and the lioness is more dangerous when they have kids. So that's just dangerous just to think about that, because she's the GOAT now. Just imagine what she could do.
Yeah, it's crazy to think she gets any better.
Yeah. Like, look, I'm looking at the rankings now. Like, you have Hermine de Randamine. She beat her already. Mm-hmm. You have Holly Holm, who's going to be fighting.
She beat her already.
She beat her, but Holly Holm had her going. It wasn't until she got the wrestling going that she took over.
I thought the Randamie did good. The Randamie, she didn't want to stand and strike, but the Randamie, she had to wrestle her.
Yeah, but Holly Holm struck her and got her good, and then she had to change her game plan, and then that's when she got Holly Holm. Holly Holm is a really good. She's very underrated, even though everybody knows her. She's very underrated because everybody has to change their game plan. She always starts out well against everybody, and then Holly Holm always makes that one small mistake, and then it costs her in fights. Like in that one, she had a mistake that caught on that one. She made a mistake in the Randamie one and the Misha Tate one. Other than that, she's been fighting well. Other than those mistakes, but you got her. She's number 2. Aspen Ladd is 3. I don't think has Nunez fought her yet. Ladd.
Not that I remember.
No.
Has she? Then there's Irene Aldana. Then Kunitskaya. Then there's Juliana Pena. She's a name that's being thrown around.
Yeah, I saw an article that she wants the shot, and Dana White's considering giving it to her, which would be a number 6 seat going for the belt. That'd be an interesting choice. Well, I mean, the top two at least have already been there.
But I think
so
she's fighting right now. I think she has a fight scheduled, so I think she would have to win that. But I think
she hasn't fought Ladd yet either. I just looked it up. She hasn't fought Aspen Ladd.
And Ladd's
that
number
might be
30.
an interesting matchup.
Yeah. So there is a couple matchups, but it doesn't look good in the two division rankings because there's only one ranking.
Only one ranking.
Yeah, like you look at the featherweight and it's nothing, and then you look at the bantamweight and then they got people there, and then the only real person, like we said before, that presents a really good trouble is Valentina Shevchenko. But she's she would have to bulk up, or Nunez would have to move down to 135.
Where did they fight at the last times? 135?
I think they were lower.
Or did Shevchenko go up?
I think it was
it was lower because Nunez bulked up to fight Cyborg. She bulked up to fight Cyborg. So.
Shevchenko had her on the ropes the second fight. A lot of people thought that could have went Shevchenko's way.
That was the first one. The first one. Everybody thinks that Shevchenko actually won, but the judges went Nunez in favor of Nunez by a round. But people were like, if you looked at the scorecards and the striking and all the activity, the favor was Shevchenko. But then the second fight, of course, it was Nunez. Nunez had that one, but Shevchenko presented like so many problems for her, and then that first fight was really good. So, like, even though she lost both fights, I could see a third fight in the future just because of the controversy of the first one.
They've got to make that fight again. They need to fight again. They're the two best women in the UFC.
Do you think that Nunez would move down to try to get a third belt, or do you think that's too much of a weight cut?
I think it's too much of a weight cut. I think Shevchenko would probably have to come up and maybe a catch weight.
Right, that would make the most sense because otherwise it'd be difficult to fight like featherweight opponents at like a super low weight. Yeah, that'd be tough.
But there's not much to talk about that because Nunez is the GOAT. So we'll move on to the main event here, which we had a light heavyweight title matchup between Jan Blachowicz, the champion, against Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, where we saw Jan Blachowicz defeated Adesanya by unanimous decision, where two judges scored it 49-46, and then the third judge scored it 49-45. I'll start with you, Miles.
I mean, this one was a pleasant surprise. I didn't have Blachowicz winning by decision. I had Adesanya winning by decision because typically Adesanya's more volume. He's quicker. He's, getting in there and getting strikes and using that striking ability to stall out, grappling situations or at least deter them for most of the fight. But I don't know. Something was up. He started out okay. And then Blachowicz started, gaining steam. And Israel Adesanya stopped, trading in turn. It felt like once Blachowicz started landing more, he started getting more confident. He started just letting his hands go. It had a real effect on Adesanya, which I don't know if we've seen in the past, but it's like I said, if Blachowicz uses that grappling ability, that's going to be a huge problem for Adesanya, and that's exactly what happened. Blachowicz put him in situations on the ground that he was not prepared to deal with because he doesn't have the credentials for that sort of thing. Even in the wrestling exchanges, when Blachowicz put him up against the cage, Adesanya was good against the cage. He was like, all right, I can slip out of this. The minute it went to the middle of the octagon, Blachowicz had him every time. So it was like he had only so much time to prepare his wrestling and his ground game. And, it's exactly like the Paulo Costa fight. The credentials between, Adesanya's grappling and Blachowicz's grappling, there's no amount of training you can do in that time frame to catch up. There's too big of a gap. And I think Blachowicz played it well. He started out kind of slow. I think everybody was a little worried that, this was going to get finished up early because he wasn't coming out hot. But then, he started getting more comfortable. And as he gained momentum, he got more comfortable shooting in for those takedowns and those attempts. And for some reason, Adesanya really wasn't stopping him very effectively. He got him a couple times against the cage. And then I think Blachowicz was like, oh, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Then he got way more confident, did it right out in the middle of the octagon, and just dominated round 4 and 5. After, like, I think Adesanya got the first, Blachowicz got the second for his striking, and then Adesanya got the third, and then after that, it was over. It was just, very one-sided. I think that really fucked with Adesanya, too. I think he expected that to go way different. But it just goes to show you, like, even if you have, like, a really, really good, tight game on one aspect, if a fighter comes in with, another aspect that's better than yours, it just takes a good game plan. Because honestly, if this had gone to like a trading like it had with the Gastelum fight, I think Adesanya may have had a way better chance of pulling this out by decision, assuming he didn't, get knocked out by that one lucky punch from Blachowicz. But it turns out Blachowicz just had the better game plan and had the better execution tonight. And I'm not sure why Paulo Costa didn't do that. Maybe it's because of all that wine he drank, but good job for Blachowicz.
The witch guard afterwards, the talk with Rogan was funny when he grabbed the bottle, and then he was like, maybe I didn't sleep good last night. Maybe I need to drink this to pass out. That was a nice subtle shot at Paulo Costa. But what about you, Sam?
Man, I think people have to start putting some respect on Jan Blachowicz' name. If you look at his last 5 fights, who he's fought and how he's beat them, and now to beat one of the guys who everybody is, a lot of people are saying he's one of the greats, which I'm not denying that. Adesanya is great. But Blachowicz is a problem. He's not just a guy holding the belt that John Jones lost, or not holding the belt that John Jones gave up. He earned it, and he looks good. He looked good in this fight. I'll give credit to Adesanya for taking the fight, for one, because that was a gutsy move, and he did fight good. This came down to, if you ask me, the size mattered in this fight. And in 4 and 5 with Blachowicz simply, getting him on the ground. That was smart on his part. He kind of held him down, stayed busy enough to where he won both rounds. I give it to him, man. I'm happy for him. I think he's going to be a great champion. Another reason I'm happy that he won is because now my boy Glover Teixeira is going to finally get one more shot at the belt. I think that's going to be a good fight as well. But hats off to Jan, man. He fought a smart fight. He didn't gas. He fought a real good smart fight against a smart fighter. So I give it to him. I thought he did great. I was happy he won.
Yeah, early on in the fight, he was very patient. Like, he was just picking and choosing. And then you saw later on, starting like towards the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, he started getting into taking shots at the takedowns. I think what set that up, and what people were like, didn't really realize, was how effective the leg checks were of Blachowicz, where what Adesanya has a lot of success is with his leg kicks, and then his setups into other combinations where he goes with the leg kick and then finishes off with like a strike. Blachowicz kept on pressuring forward at him, didn't give him enough space to do a lot of that work that he usually does. He just kept on getting up close. Adesanya would go for a kick, and then Blachowicz would just go and check it, kind of to a fault where he kind of was taking too much of the checks, where it made it look like he was being a little scared, assuming that there was going to be a kick there, and then allowed Adesanya to take a shot at the head, which didn't really do too much to Blachowicz. But he got Adesanya out of his game plan, and it looked like Adesanya was getting flustered because of it. And then that allowed him later on in the fight to get the takedown going. And then once he got that first takedown, it was over, because he has that 30-pound. It was the 30-pound weight difference. All
Actually, this time he only had a 5-pound weight difference. If you watch the weigh-in, he was at 205.
Well, that's after the weigh-in, though.
200.
After the weigh-in, Blachowicz was at 220.
Oh wow, he
He was
old
at
boy.
220, and then
I didn't know he
Yeah.
gained so much weight. That's
yeah,
crazy.
they
Water
cut
weight.
weight and then they
Hmm.
gain it back right away, like easily.
Yeah.
But he was at 220 by fight time, and then Adesanya was at 190, I believe it was, because he doesn't cut any weight. He didn't cut any weight for this. That's his like normal weight. So
I thought he was originally at like coasting around like the 180s, upper 180s, and then for this fight, I thought they had him at like 200, something like that.
Yeah, I think he weighed in at like 200. Actually, he weighed in at 200.
He was a little
It was
heavier. 'Cause I
5 pounds
remember,
under the 205.
yeah, because I was watching it and I was like, oh, he did kind of gain some weight. I was wondering if that was muscle or fat, because that also like that's one thing that
Probably
Nunes
just
did
water.
before. Yeah, like, that's the thing. If you don't
No,
bulk
yeah.
up correctly, then it's like it doesn't even matter if you're closer in weight if that weight's not meaning anything. Like
Yeah,
Nunes
but-
decided to do a lot of powerlifting to fight Cyborg, and it paid off. But I
Yeah.
think that was maybe a mistake that Adesanya made. He was just putting on weight to put on weight. And he
Yeah.
probably should have been like
but that
in the gym.
but that big weight difference just was a difference when it came to Blachowicz, taking down Adesanya and then keeping him down. Like anything Adesanya tried to do, it was hard for him to get up because he had to like waste energy trying to push up because he had that gap. Like
Well, I think there's also a skill difference, because like even
Yeah.
if the guy's bigger than you, if you have the skill, like that's one thing the Gracies always talk about is like, oh, we've been beating giants for generations,
Yeah.
and like it's not the first time that a jiu-jitsu guy's had a heavy guy on
Yeah.
top, but I think he
Blachowicz
just
was
didn't
really
have the
good with
skill.
Blachowicz was really good with moving to side guard when he
Oh,
needed
yeah.
to, and then moving back in when he needed to. Like he knew when to transition up and back to keep the top position on Adesanya to keep him down, and then it wore him out. Like I'll give Adesanya credit. I didn't know how he was going to do when he got pressured against the cage, but he defended it very well by doing that hit against the head, and then he would just kind of slide out each time. But I think by like the fourth or fifth round, I think he was getting tired, and then just getting laid on killed him. And then everybody, like, it was crazy. Everybody thought it was like 2-2 going into the fifth, and then the fifth, Blachowicz got that takedown and then kind of locked it up.
Yeah.
But then all the judges gave the fifth
That was
round
crazy, man. 49 to 46. Yeah.
Well, they gave him, all three judges gave Blachowicz 10-8 in the fifth round, and then that one judge gave the first round to Blachowicz. Which is why it was 49 to 45 compared to 49-46. They gave him the first round. So it was crazy, but I'm not going to be against it because he did dominate that round. Like Adesanya didn't do anything, and then he was able to take him down and strike him, and he clearly won the fight. And now we're gonna get that to share Blachowicz fight, but Blachowicz said he's gonna have to wait a little bit because he wants to spend time with his family. So I could see that either going in like say August or maybe September. I could see that
September,
fight being booked. And then for Adesanya, you saw him say that he's going to move back down, but don't be surprised if he moves back up again. But like they were hinting at him and Costa again, but I feel like it's going to be him and Whitaker. I feel like Whitaker is going to be
the better fight.
Whitaker is going to beat Costa, and then Whitaker is going to get his rematch that he never got because Dana White didn't give it to him. He's going to give it to him, and then that's going to be a good fight. And I look forward to that. And then next up after that, you got it depends on who wins the Vettori Till fight, but I have a feeling Vettori is going to win that, and then he's going to get his revenge on Adesanya because a lot of people had that split decision
going to him,
but it went to Adesanya because of his boxing. Like his boxing's just heads and toes better than anybody in that division, and he's made improvements since then. So I'll have that fight in April. Like I got it on my calendar because I'm looking forward to that one. But I don't think that division is cleaned out like Adesanya said it is. Because
no, there's still some good names here. Like I don't know what he's talking about.
He has a rematch with Whitaker. He has Vettori. He has Till. If Till were to beat Vettori, and then he has guys that are coming up. So, like
Which is interesting. Now that he's got his first loss, I wonder how that's going to affect him in the long run, because that's a psychological blow. I'm wondering if he's going to bounce back.
I think
Yeah,
he
I
might.
think he will.
I think the way he handled the loss on social media went well. Like he complimented Blachowicz a lot. Like he wasn't being the snarky, pompous guy that when he won. He was like, if there's anybody that I could lose to, I'm glad I lost to Blachowicz. I got a lot of respect for him. And then that's when he made the comments to Paulo Costa. But
and I'm interested to see if that's going to like fuck with him in training, though, because like he might be like, oh well, I lost to the top guy over there, but then that's going to eat at him. Like, I lost. I had a 20-0 record, and now it's a 20-1 record. I think that one's going to haunt him.
He did say that he plans to move back up.
He's probably going to wait till
he said he wouldn't finish.
Fight is over.
Yeah,
okay, interesting. I don't know if he should, but okay.
I could see him if he does it the right way, like you said before, not just gain like water weight, just gain water weight. Like if he actually gain like mass and like a muscle there, it would have a better effect on than the water, because then it's just kind of I don't want to say dead weight, but it kind of is, because there's nothing to it. It's just you gaining weight just to gain it instead of adding some stability to you. Like if he would have done like muscle, he would have added that extra weight, but it would have been like strength. Like he would have been able to use it in this fight, but he wasn't able to use it. It was just water weight, where it was like just useless. But like I feel like if he's able to come back from this, I think he's going to take a lot from this fight, and then use it to his advantage. Like, like he did beat me, but I did do some stuff good in this fight. I just need to work on this part of my game, and maybe when I move up, actually gain mass and not just water weight.
Yeah, maybe he'll be less of a douche now because he lost. Maybe he'll be nice and humble.
Yeah, he definitely was humble afterwards. I will say that. But that is the end of the recap. Right before we head out, I did want to mention the news that was at the beginning of the weekend, where we saw Junior Dos Santos and Alistair Overeem get released. I want to get your guys' opinions on this. I'll start with you, Sam.
I hate it, but it's a changing of the guard. Age happens to everybody. Time is unbeaten. So, I hate it. Overeem wanted to go, I thought they probably could have gave Overeem he had talked about, he wanted this to be his last run at the title. He did lose. I think they probably could have gave him a goodbye fight, something. But, who knows if he's going to retire now or if he's going to go somewhere else and make money. And, I mean, both of these guys have lost, their last 5? Pretty close to it, I think. So
3 or 4 in a row for JDS, and then this was his first loss for Overeem.
So, either way, they could have did Overeem a little bit better. Man, JDS too, give them a goodbye fight. These guys are legends. They put on some of the greatest fights in UFC. The JDS versus Cain Velasquez fights. Those were revolutionary for the heavyweight division. So I hate it, but it is a business, and I guess if you're not winning, you just you got to win. You got to pay to play. You got to win to stay there. So I hated it. I hated it for both guys, but I'm sure they'll land on their feet somewhere.
What about you, Miles?
Right. Yeah, I mean, this 100% seems like a money-making business decision, because when you see how many times like Woodley gets a second chance, and then Overeem, who's still like in 7th seat, he's doing like, he's not like below top 15 like JDS is. That one kind of makes a little bit more sense, because he's been steadily, falling down. He became the guy that you feed to the up-and-comers to see how they do with him. So that one, I can kind of see that. But Overeem, like you said, I think he's only lost like 1, and before that he was, winning semi-consistently. So I mean, it's like he still had life in the division. But I think Dana White is trying to, clear out a lot of the older names so he can start recruiting younger guys. guys he thinks are prospects to come and like stack every division. I think that's his goal, is to like have every division as stacked as like the light heavyweights and the bantamweights. I think he's really trying to make every every single division, like from top 10, they're all just going to be like a clusterfuck because they're all really good. But I don't know. I feel like Overeem could have gone further. That was probably a little premature, but Dana White wants to make money, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like I do kind of agree with the JDS thing, Sam, but then at the same time, he did lose 4 in a row, and then all of them were by knockout. So I feel like he maybe if it was like, I think the difference between him and Woodley was, I think 3 of the 4 for Woodley were by decision instead of getting knocked out. So you can kind of get that scapegoat, like, oh yeah, he only lost by decision. Maybe this one, you give him this last one, which he has against Luke K, and if he loses, then yeah, he's out. Like that
isn't that worse if you lose by decision? Because then you're just demonstrating you can't finish. Like that's what that means. Is if you lose by decision, not only did you not have control of the fight.
Woodley has lost every round in his last
that's what I'm saying. That seems worse to me. I don't know.
JDS,
especially with like versus Overeem.
I think JDS all 4 rounds. The last one he's lost in the
comparing
first round.
Comparing those two, yeah. But I mean, like Overeem and Woodley, I don't know.
Well, from what I hear is Overeem, that thing was mutual. The release, I heard,
which leads me to think he's probably going to retire. That's what I think.
Yeah, because he's been fighting like his career, like he's had over like 60 fights. He's been fighting a lot. It's just
long time.
Like it was big, and then like he's made a lot of money, and then you haven't heard anything about him spending in it. So like if you think every fight that he probably made close to $1 million, close to. And then in the UFC, he fought over 10, 12 times. So just the UFC, he made over 10 to $15 million. And that's not including like bonuses or anything extra that he made.
Right.
And like he still lives in I think he still lives in Holland. He was just, he would come over here, and then he had I forget where he was living over here, but mostly it was in Holland still. So, and like, I don't like, who knows how cheaper it is over there or whatnot. But like you could see him going to Bellator or whatnot. I could see him going there. Maybe that was his thought process. Was he just didn't fight the release, and he's like, I can probably, with how bad, like every time he lost, like I think he was 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but those 2 losses were the knockouts to Volkov, and then the one to Rosenstruck where he had 4 of the 5 rounds, and then Rosenstruck
just got called in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, like Rosenstruck pulled it out of his ass for a victory. So, like it definitely is a changing of the guard. Like he was moved on the way down, and then you have these guys like Dawkins and Aspinall and like whatnot who are moving on the way up. So I see that, and then on top of that, you had the log jam in the top 5. So even if he stayed, say he stayed and lost, he would have moved back down, and then it would have been even harder for him. But if he won, he would have been waiting like 2 years at best to get like some sort of good fight. So maybe he asked for it. Maybe he asked for it. We don't know because they didn't really say much. They just said he was released. Maybe he asked for it to go because he could go to Bellator and be in the top 3 right away. Because they're not doing anything right now because, of course, Bader is the heavyweight champion, but he's in the light heavyweight Grand Prix. So you're not going to have you can have both these guys. They can move over and then start fresh while they're waiting. Which I'm going to guarantee and say one of these 2 guys will be in Bellator by the end of the month.
I could see JDS maybe going to bare knuckle.
I don't know.
I mean, they're throwing money all sorts of places. I mean, they're throwing money all around, man. So
they went and got Paige Van Zandt, so anything can
that work out for him, huh?
She looks strong at the end of that, but yeah, she like her head. I think her head's not in it. I think her head, it's too much into her look and not into her training.
Needs to stick to Instagram modeling.
Yeah. She's doing too much of that, definitely. But yeah, like I see, I don't think these guys are done. Overeem, maybe. It just depends. Like I think wait to the end of the month. I think we'll have a clear cut sign of what's going to happen by at least the end of March. Either Bellator or maybe, like you said, bare knuckle. I don't think there's a heavyweight division in PFL yet. I think it's just the four.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I would like to see a heavyweight division in PFL.
Where did Verdum go? He went to PFL.
I think he's late. I'm pretty sure he's heavy. I haven't seen
Fedor.
anything. Huh?
He fought Fedor before. Yeah, he's heavyweight.
Well, Fedor is in Bellator.
Well, no, I'm saying back in the day when they fought at Strikeforce, he fought at heavyweight then, Verdum. I think he might be heavyweight.
Well, yeah, but I don't think PFL has a heavyweight because all the rankings I see, they have 4 or 5 divisions, and then the highest that I've seen is light heavyweight. So I would have to double look on that one. But if they did, that would be cool. If they did, like the PFL's on the way up, and then they just signed that deal with I showed you before. They signed that deal where people can log into that app and then vote on who won each round.
Oh, that's interesting.
Verdict, the
That's
Verdict app.
Huh.
The PFL just signed it. It just
mechanic.
announced it today, which is pretty cool. But I really like how the PFL has, like, they're not trying to compete. It's like an alternative. Like they have the fights going for each thing in end of April. They wait a month, then the guys fight again. Then they wait a month, fight again. I think they fight a total of three fights or 4 fights, and they take the top 5 of the 10, and then those guys make it into the playoff round, and then they go from there. It's a really cool format, and I guess that's why it's on ESPN now. So
Interesting.
But we're at the end of the show. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we get going?
It was a pleasure having me. Pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. I always enjoy this. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Fun stuff.
What about you, Miles?
Not much. Just check out Laughs and Rec podcast stuff. I got my streaming schedule set up for the week. My last Sunday Fun Day stream was the first one I've ever done on Sundays. That was a lot of fun, a lot of interaction. That was awesome. We got another guest lined up for this coming Sunday. It is, I need to confirm on Thursday, but I believe Abigail from the Manic Pixie Weirdo podcast. I was doing a guest spot on her show. Yeah. That was really interesting. We talked about scams, and when she's coming on to mine, we're going to talk about food, child pageants, probably like something entertainment related. Yeah, I have issues with child pageants, so that's gonna be a rantathon.
Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah. Oh God, no, no, thank you. That should not have happened. But yeah, my streaming schedule is pretty much Sunday through Wednesday here on Mondays, and then all the other days I'm on my Twitch.
Yeah, I'll try not to hijack this one.
Yeah, yeah. The chat really was enabling a lot on Sunday. It's got lots of derailing questions, but that's cool. It's fine.
Hey, that's okay. I made a new friend, so
that's right.
Yeah, but this was a good episode. Check me out on Thursday with my buddy Jim DeLillo of the Active Geek podcast. He'll be joining me once again as we preview UFC Vegas 21, Benir Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. It's going to be a 4 main card, but 7 fights on the main card. You heard it. 7 fights. Yeah. It was 5. Then they added 1, and then yesterday they added Ben Rothwell versus Felipe Lins. So now there's 7. So I had a field day doing my notes for Thursday, but we'll be doing that pre-recorded. So I'll be releasing it at the normal Thursday night at 7 slot, where I'll put it on the usual YouTube. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on Twitter, of course. And then now, just like I said early on, we're finally on Twitch. And the URL is twitch.tv/CageMyIQ. So if you go on Twitch and that's your way of watching podcasts or streams, go on there, subscribe. In a couple of weeks, we'll be starting live streams for the pay-per-views where we'll just go on, hang out, talk about the fights, and then I'll give my betting lines for each fight and my knowledge of each thing. Like, I'll just do that for people who are into that, but it'll just be a good time just to talk MMA and then to BS with friends. Like, you guys are more welcome to come on. I got another guy, Jay, who's coming on. He'll be starting his own podcast at the MMA Drunkie. He's getting that set up. Nice. He just actually got us into like a big MMA group on Twitter with a whole bunch of other MMA podcasts. So I'm going to go filter through that all this week and then just build some more relationships, see if I can get people on. But he's going to be on next Thursday with me where we preview UFC Vegas 22, Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a banger of a main event.
Mm-hmm. Brunson's a hometown guy here, man.
Oh, is he?
He's from Wilmington. Yeah, he's from Wilmington. So yeah.
And see, my hometown guy is Chris Darkus. So.
Oh
yeah, Philly boy.
Yeah, Philly boy. Definitely, but we're definitely pumping out a lot of content. Definitely look for that on Thursday, and then I'm gonna start cutting the previews for each matchup. So if you don't want to watch the full thing, I'll have the YouTube videos for each fight preview. I'll cut it up and separate them afterwards. So if you want to watch the full thing, that'll be there. If you just want to focus on a certain matchup, that'll be there too. I'm trying to do that because, some people just want to get certain info and that's it. We're going to be doing the previews every Monday at 8:30 as usual. And then doing the recaps every Monday at 8:30. I'll be doing the previews every Thursday where I'll release them at 7. And then, like I said before, starting on UFC 260, Nagano Stipe, we'll be doing a live stream on Twitch. So definitely check that out like I have there. Follow us on all of our platforms on Twitter at Cage IQ, Facebook at Cage My IQ SB, and then on Instagram at Cage My IQ. Comment on all of our posts. We'll try and get back to you. Just join in on the fun. MMA is the hot thing right now. And then that's all I have to say. I am D-Bake. This is Sam. That's Miles. And we'll talk to you guys later.
We're still on.
Thank you for watching this episode of Cage My IQ on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.